r/ask Reddit. What was the most ducked up thing you saw in school? A kid hung himself on a playground our senior year. I hear his brother found him. This all happened a week after two of the brother's friends, also seniors, died when they wrapped their classic Mustang around a tree near the HS. Made for a rough senior year to say the least. Jesus Christ. Poor guy. How's he doing now? Better. Has a family of his own now. A girl was coming back from a doctor's appointment and wasn't there to hear that we couldn't get out equipment for recess. She opened the door, grabbed something and went to leave. The wind kicked up and slammed the door on her hand and she lost a finger. They rushed her to the hospital and they sewed it back on and eventually it was back to normal, but that was the most ducked up thing I had seen. I actually remember that happening to someone in the daycare my mom put me in. Needless to say, I didn't stay in that daycare for very long. A girl had diarrhea and was wearing tights and sitting in class and the tights started getting really lumpy, but she didn't get up to go to the bathroom. A giant hawk swooped down on campus and sunk its talons into the back of a squirrel foraging for acorns about 20 or 25 yards from me. Scared the bejesus out of me. He stood on it like a boss for a few seconds and then flew off with it. This was at like 7:30 in the morning, so it took me a while to wrap my brain around it. The guy walking in front of me spun around and said, "Please tell me you saw that. The circle of life is quite beautiful." It was a rival football game and the stands were packed. A section of the old wood bleachers collapsed and 20 or so students went to the hospital with numerous broken bones, concussions, and lacerations of various degrees. During the same game, I saw the guy get hit so hard in the leg that it shattered and both bones were showing. Poor kid ended up in a wheelchair for the rest of the school year. When I was 8, we were making cookies in class and they gave us square cheese graters to make chocolate chips with. Because they didn't trust us with knives, a fair judgment, some kid was holding a few graters and pretended to be a robot. This girl shouted at him because he wasn't a robot and proceeded to take one of the graters and grate his hand. Lots of blood happened and then a pair of twins both fainted. The duck? What happened to the person who tried to grate the kid's hand? Saw a girl stomp on another girl's jaw with her high-heeled boot for looking at her boyfriend at the next lunch table over. I heard she had to get her jaw wired. I hope she was charged with assault. That is disgusting. These two kids got into a fight at my school. Somewhere during the tussle, one kid lost his balance and on the way down threw the meanest uppercut ever. He connected on the other kid's bare teeth and pushed them into his gums. He ducked up his own hand really bad. Blood just everywhere and no teachers in sight for like another 3 minutes. This is some Mortal Kombat X-ray vision shit. In my school there was a kid, or multiple kids, we don't know, who would shit in a urinal every once in a while. They were known as the urinal shitter. Someone made a meme with the Grim Reaper going to the doors template with all the bathrooms they had done it in, and the Reaper going into the last bathroom, the office bathroom. The meme spread very quickly and I guess some teachers saw it. Since there is blood in the meme, coming from under all the closed doors, they decided it was a credible threat of violence. They closed the school for 2 days for safety concerns. Just a super weird story all around. Sounds like a case for the Hardley boys. I was in 9th grade. One of our classmates got drunk, stripped and streaked the lunchroom, gymnasium, basically any place crowded. The staff was afraid to tackle a naked teenager, so we all got an eyeful. We were in 4th grade and class just let out for a 5 minutes break. I was with a group of girls and we walked into the bathroom. On the far wall was a giant ring of shit painted in the shape of a heart. There was even visible undisguised food in the feces that, for some reason, is burned into my memory. There was a kind of a witch hunt. The principal called out students in the hallway, one by one, to question the kids. No one confessed as far as I remember, but there was a lot of suspicion surrounding a boy who liked to talk about butts and flatulence. I'm not even sure that he did it, but make too many a-hole jokes in class and something like this happens. You are suspect number 1. A girl with bulimia tried to shout down a spiral staircase, but because her gag reflex was so weak she vomited from a great height instead. Oh, the splash. There was a ginger vegan that would chew carrots up in his mouth and chase people around, spitting carrots at them. He ended up getting his head slammed into a bag hook in a fight afterwards. Did he die? It feels like someone who gets their head slammed into a bag hook isn't going to survive. My middle school teacher did a thing where we could bring our pets to school. A kid in my class got attacked by a macaw after he tried to grab it off a desk so he could play with it and had to go to the hospital to get stitches. I was suspended and grounded for bringing a macaw to school. Some dumbass kid stuck a pair of tweezers in an old outlet that didn't even have a circuit breaker, so IDK how he didn't die. Saw a kid throw a pickleball paddle at a gym teacher, knocked her unconscious, blood everywhere. He was suspended for some time, was an a-hole. That's actually really bad. Was she okay? Concussion and stitches. Paddle clocked her right in the forehead. I have a vivid memory of her clutching the padding you see on gym walls as she went down. She was older, so you could tell after that she was a bit uneasy. I had a Scottish teacher and an Irish teacher in 5th grade, and they were great mates. I got along well with both of them as well, so as I was leaving for the weekend I went and told them to have a good weekend. They told me the same. Anyway, when I got to school on the Monday, neither was there, which was odd. Then the next day the same story. This went on for about a week, and I was starting to get worried. Then about a week after, we had an assembly, where we found out that the Scottish teacher was a fugitive. What happened was on the Saturday after I wished them a good weekend, they went out for a party and got drunk. They then went over to Irish teacher's place, where they got into an argument. Scottish teacher got pissed and punched Irish teacher, who had heart problems, in the chest. He promptly died. Scottish teacher left, got his fiancée and fled the country, presumably back to Scotland. Maybe not the type of ducked up you are after, but when I was in school I was trying to find a way to tell my parents that I was getting sexually abused by my uncle. At least in Italy, if you tell a teacher, they should at the very least speak to the principal and then report to the police. I thought it was the best way possible to avoid speaking with my parents about it directly, but also to free myself ASAP. I had to get a friend to help me and cried the whole time while explaining. She has 2 young kids and stared at me in the eyes and said, "Just tell it to your mum," and never spoke again. She also denied in trial when they asked. It felt awful. It was a psychology teacher and I thought she would somewhat understand me and help me to seek help. A kid in my biology class accidentally stabbed his face with scissors. Then another kid chased him out of the room with a microscope slide to catch a few drops of blood. So he took his blood covered slide and the teacher resignedly let us see the red blood cells still moving around. The stabbed kid was fine. A few stitches and he was good to go. In 6th grade, my math teacher was arrested for having CP on his laptop and watching it during breaks. He had just finished helping me on a math problem when he looked up at me, smiled, and said, "I really like that birthmark on your face. It looks like a teardrop." It looks really cute when the vice principal walks into the room and asks him to step outside. We have big wind down in our classroom and the front door was wide open. Outside stood the entire administration and 2 police officers. The vice principal took his laptop, and they left. Never saw that teacher again. The white dove they released for Peace Day got immediately snatched mid-flight by a red-tailed hawk. This was in elementary school. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.